Today finally is the day we're going to be replacing the clutch and everything. I already started just to see what I needed to do, and I've never had to do this before, so I kind of started just to see everything. I got the shifter linkages off, I got all the other stuff off from the top of the engine. I still have to get the starter and I believe the slave cylinder for the clutch off, and then obviously I got to get the axles out and everything. I had to make sure I had the actual nut. I know these aren't impact ones, but hopefully they will hold up and work for what I need. So hopefully the axles are not stuck. But yeah, this isn't really going to be like a how-to video on how to replace the clutch, but I will give you definitely some pointers on things sooner or later, what I struggled with and what I did to do it. But so I could definitely say, especially if you live somewhere where it's rusty, your shifter linkages and the clips that hold them together are probably going to be a pain to get off. These took me a good like 20 minutes to get off. One of them came off a lot easier. I forget which one it was. I think it was the one right here that was more towards the right. That one came off slightly easier. I think the other one was just a little harder because there's this coolant line is in the way. But enough prying with the screwdriver and some liquid wrench and some vice grips, everything came off. So, and the same with the shifter linkages. They just go on to some small little pieces. I've changed those in the past, and I plan to change these out to some solid bushing ones. I have them somewhere, so I'll definitely be doing that as well. But yeah, we just got to figure out how to drop this transmission out of here. Luckily, it's a small transmission, so it shouldn't be too bad, but we will see how it is by doing it myself. But right now, we just got to take off the other wheel and try to get these axles out, and then we will focus on trying to get all the bell housing bolts. And then I think you have this transmission mount, and I think there's one in the back there. So hopefully those two will come off fairly easy, and then we will be able to take this thing off and replace the clutch. Alright, so and you guys are probably wondering, what kind of clutch am I going to put on here? And I bought a SPEC clutch from turbokits.com. I forget the exact part number, but it should hold like 300 to 350 foot-pounds of torque, which should be plenty more than what this car is, as well as should probably replace the flywheel. So I bought a new flywheel. This flywheel is a Monkey Wrench Racing flywheel, and this is the forged steel ultra lightweight flywheel. So should be much lighter than the factory one. So we will definitely see how this feels and drives with this. And then I bought some new studs to go in there as well. After about, I don't know, a good 30 minutes or so, and I probably pretty much ruined this one and might have ruined this one. I'm probably going to just replace the axles in this car anyways. But I tore this boot. I think I ruined the seal here and a bunch of grease came out. Then this one, I didn't think about it, but when I was pounding on the thread to try to get these out of the axle on the car, I damaged the first thread, but I can easily fix that. But I might just replace these so I don't have to go through the hassle again of trying to fix these again. So, but now that I got the axles out, a few other things I have to take apart. I still got to do the starter and the clutch solenoid, and then once I get that done, then really it's just unbolting the transmission and letting it just fall to the ground. Potentially putting something underneath it to not fall, but yeah, that should be relatively simple. But yeah, so let's move on to the next stuff. Let's get a few other little things unbuttoned, get this transmission completely free from the car, and then we'll work on the engine mounts and I'll probably want to support the engine with another jack just to keep it up once I start taking these mounts off. So but let's keep on chugging along. But really, there's no easy way to get these out other than a hammer and then like a crowbar or something and hit it on the back side of the axle. So you'll be hitting it that way out on both of these. So the driver's side came out a little easier than the passenger side, but all it takes is just a good enough whack to get it past this little like C-clip bushing thing that they have in there. So let's keep chugging along and see how well this process goes. Give you a little update where I'm at here. I think I have everything disconnected from the transmission except for the motor mounts and maybe 1 or 2 more bell housing bolts. Alright guys, so finally after, I don't know, a good couple hours of trying to wiggle this out, I finally got it out. One thing definitely would recommend if you ever do this, just do yourself a favor and take off the motor mounts, because at least the easy ones, take those off, because that made a big difference. Because otherwise, every time you kept trying to lower the transmission, it would hit the frame here, it would hit the subframe down there. It was just a hassle. So, but as soon as you took those off, the thing dropped down like super easy. So now it's time to clean all this stuff up and get prepped for the pressure plate and the flywheel and everything like that. So, and hopefully, like, I've had this noise since I've owned this car, and hopefully it's just a bad throwout bearing. So replacing that, like, it's not a grinding noise, but it's just a weird noise ever since I've owned this car. So hopefully that's the issue, but we'll definitely clean everything up, get everything up, because it's filled with clutch. But surprisingly, clutch material, everything, like, there's not nearly as much stuff that I thought it was, because, I mean, with the clutch slipping, I guess it's probably more the flywheel is probably getting ruined, and the stuff is getting, like, not melted onto the flywheel, but it's probably messing the flywheel up more than the actual clutch. But let's start prepping this up, getting it all cleaned, and swapping out to the upgraded parts. All right, so I just cleaned out the inside of the transmission a little bit. Tried to get as much of this stuff off as possible, but it's like so much in there. All the rags are disgusting. But now that I got the new throwout bearing, we'll replace this. I bought some heavy duty just grease. I don't know what kind of, I think this is the grease that you should be using to grease up where the transmission fork goes, as well as where you should put it on your bearing. All right, everything slides on really easily because everything's greased up. It did take a lot to kind of take it off, but everything should be good now. Everything's loose and greased up. And I took this boot off, so don't forget to put the boot back on around the cutout for the fork. All right, so transmission side is done. Now we got to go under the car and take a look at the flywheel and the clutch and the pressure plate. Got the pressure plate and the clutch off. I don't know how much. I can't tell if this is an OEM clutch. It does say Toyota on it, so I'm gonna assume it's the original. But wasn't much life left on this clutch, that's for sure. But surprisingly, I mean, nothing has gouges, nothing has anything. So It wasn't rubbing against anything, but definitely looking at this, there's not a lot of clutch material left on this. So that probably explains too why the clutch kept slipping. Alright, so with the old and with the new. So, and like I was saying, this one is supposed to hold about 300 to 350 foot-pounds of torque. So, but should be plenty more, and hopefully not let the clutch slip. And this will be a lot better. So hopefully, I was told this isn't too aggressive of a clutch, but it's not a soft clutch either like the stock one. There's the old flywheel. Here's the new flywheel. This definitely feels much lighter than that one. I mean, you can see all the cutouts and everything they do in here. So definitely should be a lot better. So once I get this in the car, I'm gonna clean this off after I get in the car because my hands are dirty. I also bought a new set of bolts as well. So these already come Loctited and everything, so I don't even need to add anything. So just need to throw this into the car and bolt it up. Alright, so I just got all the flywheel bolts torqued down. It should be, from what I read, 49 Newton meters. I did about 50 with, I think, a quarter turn past that. So, and having the lightweight flywheel definitely helps because I could just shove a wrench in between the cutouts to hold it in place. Otherwise, I've seen people put something on the dowel pin and then put like a bolt through with a wrench. And then you can kind of just like wedge it in that way, and that should hold it from the engine spinning over. But now that's all torqued down, so now we can get the clutch in and bolt that down too. I got the flywheel and the clutch in. One issue I did have was the supplied alignment tool. I don't think is meant for this engine. It's just a generic thing because they also supplied a bearing, but that bearing doesn't even go into this engine, so it's useless, but it's supposed to line up with the bearing. So I pretty much just kind of tightened up the clutch and then just wiggled around until I thought it was as centered as possible. We will see how centered it is when I go to line the transmission back up, but hopefully that won't give me any issues. Alright, you guys, so it's actually been about a week since I last did anything to this car. The transmission's in. I got pretty much everything in. I ordered some new axles, so I got those in a few days ago. I got the driver's side one complete, so now I gotta put the passenger one in, and that should go fairly simple. I did have a little bit of trouble trying to get the actual axle back into the transmission, but with a big enough hammer it will go in. So I also ended up having to replace this coolant T because I broke the plastic one when I was putting something together, so I had to order that too, and that has been put in. So pretty much everything here is good. I just got to put in the last axle, touch up a few things, and then hopefully everything is installed properly. Alright, so the car's running again. Everything does seem fine, but I did have an issue, but I seem to fix that. Because the car will go into gears, which is good, so that is fine. But as soon as I went to go start this the first time, after everything, I heard the worst grinding noise possible, and I was trying to figure out what it was. Like, I literally had to turn the car off because of how bad it was. I literally, like, it ran for like maybe 5-10 seconds at the most, and it just sounded horrible. And I was trying to figure out what the heck happened, and then I was like, it sounded like something really grinding, like badly. And obviously I didn't touch anything with the transmission, so I don't think the transmission would be an issue. But after investigating, I found out it was my starter. It was actually sticking, so every time it went to go start the car, it wouldn't retract, and then it would just grind up against the flywheel. So the flywheel got eaten up just a little bit, but now it's good. It's not making any noise, starts up perfectly fine. I already started up like 2 or 3 times. Alright guys, so I got all the things together, got the transmission on, clutch on, everything is running good. I just have like a weird whining noise, or like gear noise. Almost sounds like it's coming from the transmission. Whether or not, because like it almost sounds like I've had this sound ever since I bought this car. I could never pinpoint what it actually was, and now doing the clutch and everything else, it sounds a little bit louder, but not too bad, but it does sound louder than what it was before. But I definitely have to say the car spools up so much faster with that lightweight flywheel. That is for sure. But the car is running and driving, so that is a plus. I don't think I broke anything. The engagement point on this clutch definitely feels a little weird. I don't know if this also just needs to be broken in or not, but definitely has a weird feeling. Because like as soon as you want to let off of it, it almost wants to stall the car. So, but I guess that's more of a heavy duty clutch. It has actually been about 2-3 weeks since I've did the clutch replacement, and towards the beginning I was like, I almost regretted going with this clutch just because of how grabby it was. But after, I think I have like 300 or so miles, maybe even a little more than that, since I installed the clutch, and it has gotten so much better since the beginning. Because before I would try to slip the clutch, like just to like, really it was mainly just taking off, because taking off was the worst. Is like if you tried to slip the clutch a little bit, it would instantly try to grab, and then the car, I actually stalled out the car a few times when I first did this. But now after it's broken in a little bit, the clutch can slip just a little bit, but it is still pretty aggressive of a clutch. But I don't regret it. It definitely does hold the power. You can definitely drop the clutch and it actually makes the wheels spin pretty good now. Because before, I could barely chirp the wheels on my old clutch just because of how much it would slip. So, but now it's actually been driving pretty good. It still is a little bit of an aggressive clutch, just to daily drive, but after doing it for a little bit, it gets a little easier. So, but if you guys are wanting to upgrade to a stage 3 plus clutch from SPEC, it is a little aggressive, but it's not terrible. So like say the GR Corolla, that clutch, obviously it holds up to 300 foot-pounds of torque, but that clutch can actually slip Like, you can easily slip it and when you're engaging it and everything like that. Versus this clutch, it instantly just grabs, and then it actually will jerk the car a little bit. So, but yeah, with that being said, thank you guys so much for watching. If you guys are new, don't forget to smash that like button, subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you guys next time.